Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Evolved Man Masterclass. Today, I am super excited to have with me a very special guest, Brian Jones. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, Ben, and good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining me bright and early. So, Brian, you are a meditation teacher. You've been doing meditation your whole life, in addition to sales and marketing. You're a musician. You're an artist. You're doing interior design now. What do you not do, Brian?
Well, there's probably plenty of things that I don't do, but it certainly has been an interesting life. I've been meditating since I was about 12 years old, which is kind of a story unto itself. I'll leave that one for another time. But so that's been 50 years of meditation, I think, right now. I've been teaching heartfulness meditation for about 40 years. In my day-to-day life, I've done many things. I started out as a musician, played in bands back in the 70s and 80s. Thought that was going to be my future, but of course, it turned out to be something entirely different. Got into sales and marketing, did that for about 15 years. And then when that sort of came to a close, I took up painting, which was kind of a surprise, something I never thought I'd do.
Okay.
And that turned into my full-time career. I opened a gallery in Cleveland, had that for about 7 years, and that morphed into being doing corporate interior design, which is what I do now.
Awesome.
So that's a summary of it.
All right, great. So I don't know if I want to save the story for another time about you getting into meditation, but let's talk about how a 12-year-old gets into meditation.
Sure. Well, it's an interesting thing. I went to school in a pretty tough neighborhood when I was young. I'm from Cleveland, and
Right.
at that time there were, gang wars, all kinds of stuff going on. This was junior high. And my father, I think he thought I needed a little bit of toughening up because I was a pretty scrawny kid.
Right.
So he saw in the paper one day that there was starting a class in what's called Aikido. And I'm sure many people have heard of Aikido. It's a form of martial art like judo or karate. And the teacher was the very first person to bring it from Japan.
Oh, wow.
Studied under the founder, the creator of Aikido. And he was coming to Cleveland, and my father took me there, and I met this guy, and he was like the most overwhelming, dynamic person I had ever met in my young life. And so I started taking Aikido and found out very quickly that Aikido isn't really about, throwing people and all of the physical stuff as much as it is the mental.
Right.
And, Qi meaning is an energy, just like in Chinese that would be qi. So Aikido is flowing this Qi energy in such a way that it's more like a dance, and you can throw your opponent almost with their own movements. And
Right.
There were interesting things you could do with, and this is important. There was interesting things you could do with this Qi. Two things we practice is you could hold your arm straight out, like this, and one person would grab your wrist and then put their arm here and try and bend your arm. And if you used all your strength, anyone could easily bend your arm. But
Right.
if you just relaxed your arm completely and flowed this Qi energy through your body out your arm, no one could bend your arm. So that, for me at 12 years old, that was pretty exciting stuff. But the more exciting thing was if you flowed this Qi energy through your body into the ground, no one could pick you up off the ground. And they took videos of like three huge guys trying to lift this 100-pound scrawny kid. Could not do it. So that was a lot of fun, at that age to come to that realization that, wow, there's definitely something more at work here than what I understood. So that got me studying Eastern philosophy, Zen, Buddhism, Taoism, Christian mysticism. I was doing my own brand of Zen on my own for years. And that's how I got into it.
Okay, cool. I've never heard that being able to not lift a 100-pound dude with three people before. That's pretty wild.
It was amazing, really, and fun to do at school. Hey, come on, try and pick me up,
Wow. And so you were actually able to demonstrate that, huh?
Oh yeah, anybody could. Anyone who learned the technique could do it.
That's pretty cool. So you've had this kind of spiritual thread throughout your whole life. How did the meditation teaching and heartfulness organization come into the picture?
Right. I was I was a pretty intense seeker, and my Zen practice was what we now today know as mindfulness. Back then, it wasn't called mindfulness; it was called
Right.
Zen. And I was always bringing my mind to the present moment, focusing on the present moment, and that actually culminated in what I like to call an enlightenment type of experience. And that was one where I was facing a real crisis in life. I think I was 15, 16 years old at this point in time. And I think my first girlfriend, my first true love, was breaking up with me. And I was
The
down.
worst.
And I remember one day I got on my bike and I just started pedaling, and I had this amazing thing happen. This little tiny thought percolated up from inside. And the thought was something like, the only thing that can contain everything is nothing. And this repeated again. The only thing that can contain everything is nothing. It sort of percolated up. And this kept coming. And each time it came up, I felt like I was being turned inside out. It was kind of like a Zen koan almost.
Yep.
And I remember riding up the top of State Road Hill, and I get to the top, and all of a sudden it repeated one more time. And in one split instant, all thought completely stopped. The very mechanism that creates thought dissolved instantly, like a bubble bursting.
Okay.
I was in a state of total nothing, but yet I knew everything. I contained all knowledge. It was an amazing experience. And that was changed my life. And that state lasted for about a week. I went to bed, no thoughts, wake up, no thoughts, literally knew all knowledge I felt was within me.
Okay.
And, that was a really important shift in my life. That lasted for about a week, and then it faded off because I had to get on with being a teenager. But that was huge. And so that jump-started even further my spiritual quest. And by the time I was 18, I was really interested in finding out, what is the path that's going to, take me further on. And that's through some interesting circumstances. Started taking yoga, which at that time back in 1974 was a very unusual thing for a guy to be taking yoga. Yoga, you didn't even see it anywhere,
Right.
So, I did, and the teacher said, after the first class, she said, if anyone's interested in meditation, I know a woman who studies under an enlightened little old man in India, and, let me know and I'll put you in touch with her. So I was the only one that did. And I met Grace Kimball, who was studying under a master named Babaji. And that is what started my, ongoing journey into spirituality. Babaji really was a real enlightened master. And I got to meet him on a couple of occasions.
Awesome. So, and what was the transition like from student to teacher in terms of meditation?
Well, that's an interesting question because I never really thought I was a teacher of anything. Even when I was a sales rep and I was doing sales training all over the country, it never really occurred to me that I was teaching anything. I was just sharing my experience.
Okay.
So that's been my attitude my whole life. So I never thought of myself as really being a teacher. I just share whatever I have to share. And if it helps people, well, that's great. Now, obviously, in our meditation practice, we do have trainers, and I am a trainer in the Heartfulness meditation. But, it's mostly a practical thing because in meditation, everything gets revealed from inside. Yes, is there plenty of knowledge and book reading and things you can do?
Right.
There is all of that, but the real experience comes from practice.
All right. So for those who haven't meditated before, how do you describe it? I mean, I think you've already hinted at it in terms of going inside, but how do you to people who haven't done the practice before describe it and help try and start their practice up?
Right. There's a lot of different meditation definitions. The one I've been using lately is that meditation is simply a way to consciously rest the mind. So it's a tool that we use to consciously rest the mind. Now, that's for a beginner. Meditation means many different things as you progress. But the way I like to describe it is I use the example of a hurricane. You know, you can think of the hurricane has got this whirl going all around. That's our thoughts are always going. We're always thinking. The mind it never shuts off, really. So the mind's whirling around. In meditation, what we do is we withdraw our attention from the wall of the storm and move towards the eye of the storm. And the eye of the storm is completely calm and centered. Now, it doesn't mean that the storm goes away.
Right.
It just means that we're training ourselves to be able to withdraw from that and go inwards and withdraw from the senses and reach a much more centered place inside. It's something that you can experience pretty soon in a good practice of meditation. You can experience it.
Nice. I think it's a great metaphor of the hurricane. I haven't heard that one before, and I like how it accepts that the thoughts are still there, but you just change your focus.
Yes.
So when beginners, start to sit down, what's the set of instructions that you would give to them?
Right. That's a very simple thing to answer, because the meditation practice is so simple. And I think that was one of Babaji's key teachings. He said that, the source or the center or whatever we want to call it is simple. And he said the way to get to that must also be something simple. So what you do is you sit comfortably, just like you and I are sitting now.
Right.
And close your eyes, and you just gently redirect your thought to the area of the heart. Very gently focus on the heart with the idea that we're meditating on the source of light already present in the heart. When thoughts come, that's okay. We don't struggle with thoughts. Very gently redirect our focus and let the mind rest on the heart. Let our awareness rest on the heart with the idea that the source of light is attracting us inwards. That's all there is to the meditation. There's two parts to it. This is the morning meditation, the meditation that we normally introduce to new people. Is this what we call our morning meditation?
Right.
And, it's something that you don't have to only do it in the morning. You can do it anytime that you want to. But with just a little bit of practice, you start to see that we're not fighting with the mind anymore. And it's very natural to bring our awareness to the heart. Now, people might ask, why do you meditate on the heart? And that's a very good question. And there's a few reasons. The first reason is that all the activity is happening up here in our head. So it makes a lot of sense to get our awareness out of our head.
Right.
So we bring our awareness to the heart. Why do we meditate on the heart? Well, when we think about the heart, we think about love. Okay, we equate love with the heart. We don't equate love with the brain. I mean, anyone who's gotten a Valentine's Day card doesn't get one with a picture of a brain on it. It's always the heart. And the reason is that if anyone's had a broken heart, wow, where do you feel it? I mean, your heart literally feels broken. You feel that pain in your heart. So the heart is the seat of love. It's the seat of feeling, and it's the place of intuition. The mind thinks and the heart feels. The mind deals with pieces and parts of information, and it's always assembling those. The heart does not. The heart feeling is one thing. It's only one thing.
Right.
So rest on a feeling. We're automatically reaching that a place of union within ourselves. Now, one other thing I'd like to add to that is, why is the heart the place of intuition? Well, many people are going to relate to, if you have a problem or a difficult situation in life, you go out to have coffee with a friend or a loved one, and you sit down and you spill your heart out. This is what's happening to me, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
And how often do they say, just follow your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just follow your heart. But how do you follow your heart? How do we follow our heart when our brain is always interpreting, the mind is always interpreting those feelings? And that's what creates the confusion.
Right.
In this practice of meditation, we have a second part to it called the evening cleaning, where we are able to clean away all of this, these impressions that we accumulate day in and day out.
Okay.
Reach a point inside where we become very clear. And that helps us when we do our meditation. Now, it's very easy to not only focus on the heart, but more importantly, we start to begin to receive the heart's knowledge and guidance, which it really does have. The heart can guide us. After we clear off everything, we start to get in touch with that. So
to that end, you gave us the instructions for the morning meditation. What do the instructions look like for the heart cleansing one?
Okay, we call it the evening cleaning or rejuvenation. This is also simple, but it's very different, and it's in two parts. We sit down after the day's work is over. Now, this is preferably before it gets too late in the evening, because you really want to be alert when you do this. So I like to do it, after my day's work is over, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock.
Right.
Down for about 20 minutes. And what we do is we make the determined thought right away that all the impressions from the day, all the experiences from the day, whatever they are now leaving us, and they're going out the entire back in the form of smoke or vapor.
Okay.
So a visualization to get started with. So don't focus on what the impressions are or what the things that happen, like, oh, I got angry at so-and-so today, I want to get rid of that. We don't judge between good and bad impressions. We just focus on the smoke or vapor as going out the back.
Okay.
Going. And after about 15 minutes, you generally feel a distinct shift. It's as though you reach a moment of clarity. And at that point, we gently stop that process. And now we make the thought that a current of purity is descending into our heart, filling up that vacuum that was created. Now, that's a little abstract, but it's purposefully abstract because we don't want to make it too solid. So we just imagine that the heart is being filled up with purity. And what is purity? Purity is something that, it's not an amalgamation of anything. It's just the source. It's clear. And when we fill up the heart like that, eventually we are able to maintain that condition over longer periods of time, and eventually it starts spilling over into our entire day. And the whole objective of meditation in the first place is that it becomes a 24/7 presence with you. You're always in a meditative state. That's totally doable.
All right. I need to try that evening meditation. So before we recorded this, we had a little trial run of the morning meditation. Right. And so I did it 3 days in a row, and you accompanied me virtually. Now, we didn't connect via Zoom like we are now, or we just set the time that we were both there. How does that work from your side? So I was concentrating on those morning instructions, right? And I knew we were both meditating at the same time. Is there a connection there? Is there an intention on your side? What did that side of the equation look like for you while I was starting this practice?
Right. That's a very unique thing about this meditation, is that we do have trainers that sit with you. And that goes a long way in helping you to do the meditation. It also brings in another very dynamic aspect of this process, something that's called yogic transmission. And that sounds a little woo-woo to people at first. Well, whoa, what do you mean yogic transmission? And I've been doing this for 50 years, and I still don't have a great explanation for it,
Okay.
or total understanding for it. All I can say is that there is a pure source of energy that we're all connected to.
Okay.
In Eastern philosophy, they call it prana. So in our method, it's called pranahuti. It's the offering of this prana. Someone who is a trainer can allow this prana to flow through them to the soul or heart of another person. And it enables that person to reach very deep states of meditation within a short period of time. In fact, I think everyone who has tried this practice will say or ask the question, how come when I sit with you or sit with a trainer, how come my meditations are so much better?
Right.
It has to do with this amazing transmission. And the purpose of it is to awaken the heart, to help the other person to start to imbibe this transmission, because basically it's inside of each of us. So it's awakening that connection within each of us. And it helps the new person meditating become an advanced meditator within a short period of time. And we offer this ongoing assistance. I mean, it's and it doesn't cost anything. It's free. All of the trainers are volunteers. We don't get paid to do this. And so we don't leave you after the first 3 sittings. What we like to do is set up an ongoing sitting.
Right.
We also have group meditations that happen all over the world at various places. And people like to come in and enjoy sitting with the group too. And that's another type of experience, because it does seem like when we sit together, not only one-on-one, but then when we sit with a group of people, it gets magnified even more. And it's such a profound experience that you feel. It's a wonderful experience.
Yep. Yeah. I know for me, it's, over the past few months, I've been focusing on understanding energy a little bit better, and or prana, and being more sensitive to that in my body, and how that flows, and it's an interesting experience. And I think I definitely did feel that energy to a certain degree when we were sitting together, and I can see how mastery of that, or not mastery of that, but someone becoming more attuned to that can empower them in more way to be more present, and be more heart-led instead of mind-led, once they kind of understand that portion of them and that interconnectedness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So taking a step back to if people are still with us, but maybe they've tried before and they're like, oh, this meditation stuff doesn't work for me. What are the common pitfalls? I know for myself, it's like, oh, I can't clear my mind. I can't do this. I know that's something that I often hear.
Right. Well, the mind is like a barking dog. You can't yell at it to get it to stop barking, but you can give it a treat or a cookie and distract its attention. That's what we want to do in meditation. Everybody complains about the thoughts. Now, the sittings, the transmission, when we sit together, it's called a sitting. That really does help you to draw your attention inwards, so that the sittings are really critical in that regard. But every day to day on one's own, you just have to be patient with it, because just like learning piano or guitar or an instrument, I mean, you first put your fingers on the keyboard, or you put your fingers on the guitar neck on the strings, and you're like, oh, I can't even get my hands to move,
Right.
Nothing feels right. And then after a week, you've practiced maybe 1 or 2 chords, and all of a sudden, the fingers sort of automatically go to those places. And then, within a month, effortlessly, you're able to change from chord to chord, and the fingers have got it memorized. Meditation is exactly like that. And the more you do it, the more you find that your body will realize, oh, now it's time to meditate. and will automatically start to still the body, and the mind will get focused, and we'll be able to rest on the heart. And just one tip in that regard is that it's really important to, if you can, to pick
Mm-hmm.
the same time each day for your meditation.
Okay.
Because when we have the same time, then it's the body clock starts working for us. We know when we sit down, it's the same time each day, and automatically something inside triggers that meditative state. We can go right into it. And really, within just a few months of practice, you will be able to sit down. And I'm literally serious, within 20 seconds, you can be in the deepest meditative state and enter deep states of thoughtlessness. And you can even meditate for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, even an hour, and it will seem like 5 minutes has gone by. So
20 seconds, that's crazy.
it's doable, but again, we have to do it every day.
Okay. Um, I think I probably know the answer to this, but when we take a step back and we think about what an evolved world looks like, um, I assume it involves meditation and more people working with their hearts and their minds. But can you explain a little bit about what you see as an evolved world and how we can get there?
Well, I'd like to just maybe explain a little bit about the evolutionary process and what seems to be happening, at least from my own observations. I think that evolution, as we're taught it in school, is a very slow biological process of adapting to the environment, the changing environment. This is the key teachings in biological evolution as we have known it.
Right.
However, I believe that evolution is itself evolving. So now, within the past 120 years or so, what we're seeing is this biological evolution jumping into the mental evolution. So now we're in the evolution of the mind. And the mind is not constrained by all of the biological processes.
Right.
So now we're seeing amazing technological advances just in human thinking and human creativity and human innovation. And it's, doubling and tripling every a year or two now. So that is undeniably another type of evolution, or the evolution of evolution.
Right.
Now, I think that on the heels of that, we're on to yet the evolution of consciousness itself. And the results of that may not show up for a while, but we're beginning to see it. Just in the same way, Ben, that you said, you felt you're trying to get in touch with these energy flows and the prana and all of that within the body. This is the steps to understanding consciousness. What is consciousness? What can we do with consciousness? How does it relate? So overall, what we're seeing is really the definition of the word yoga.
Okay.
Many people in the West think that yoga has to do with, the postures and all of that, the physical aspect. But the meaning of the word yoga is union. And in this aspect, it's a union of mind, body, spirit, yes, but also it's a union of consciousness. It's a union of the mental functions, and it's a union of the biological process as well. And I believe that as we become more conscious human beings, that consciousness will start to lead even the body, even our genetics. It affects all of the cells in our system. That's going to be revealed more and more and more. And there's a lot of study that's coming up on that now. But to me, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Well, in the future, I see us being integrated beings of union. I believe that, in the distant future, we will all have much greater expanded innate knowledge. We will, just like when I was young and I had that experience where I experienced all knowledge. I mean, literally, it was like all knowledge. I believe that we contain all knowledge, each and every one of us. And in the future, we're going to express that. And the reason is that the filters of the mind that are caused by our accumulated impressions, okay, all of the conditioning from our past, creates filters in our mind. And those are the blocks. They're called samskaras. Those are the things that make us believe that we're just the person who we are. We're just my little pile of thoughts that are going on all day in and day out. And
Right.
the reality is that no, that's not it. We're way more than that. And when we remove all of these samskaric impressions of the past, which are causing us to live a conditioned life, we start to abide in an unconditioned presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to be the natural state of the people of the future. There's no question about it. And
All
that's
right. They have no issues from being raised by their parents. That sounds great.
and parents will become enlightened parents.
Nice. Sounds great. I mean, just out of curiosity, we talked earlier about the impressions of the day, and you're talking about some deeper impressions from our youth. Is the same practice used to try and let go of some of those older, deeper ones?
Yeah. Ben, thanks for asking that. That is such a really important question. That is another reason why sitting in meditation with a trainer in this process really helps, because they are trained in such a way that they can help people to remove the deeper samskaras, the deeper impressions that we've accumulated from our past. We really need help with that aspect of it. The cleaning or rejuvenation that we do each day, we ourselves have the ability and the power to remove those from our day-to-day life.
Right.
But to get at some of the deeper things, having the help of a trainer or a spiritual master, okay, like I've had a history of spiritual masters, they are working from a realized place. They understand the journey, they understand the inner blocks, and they have the ability, the capability to actually remove those things from us. And that's something that, people may not believe on the surface, but when you experience this, it's an amazing thing that suddenly, the way you might have been reacting to things over a lifetime, certain situations that trigger certain reactions in us, all of a sudden one day you realize, wow, it's gone. It's not there anymore. And that frees us from the conditioned past and puts us into the conditioned present.
Nice. Yeah, I think we could all benefit from letting go of some of those past scars.
Sure.
Anything that we haven't covered that you think is important for our audience to know here?
Yes, this is doable.
Okay.
I can't say it enough. Sometimes we defeat ourselves before giving ourselves a chance.
Okay.
Every person can learn this practice and derive the deepest benefits and attain the highest states of consciousness that have ever been realized in the past. That is available to each and every person. And it doesn't take a lot. And you really just have to ask yourself, what am I looking for? What am I trying to, where am I trying to go?
Right.
Am I trying to, would I like to reach a more content state? Would I like to be happier in my day-to-day life? What are my objectives? And, is this time well spent? When we first do meditation, I talk to a lot of young people. They think, what do you mean you're going to sit there for 20 minutes with your, what do you, it seems like a waste of time. It's not a waste of time, because in that inner silence is our complete and total potential. We have to transcend the thinking, the pieces and parts of our mental process, and reach that state inside, which is the whole, the complete picture, where everything will happen for us in a very effortless and automated way. And this is the tool that we use to reach that state. So I encourage everybody to try.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I feel calmer after even talking to you. And I can also attest to the fact about the level of consciousness and calm that for those of us that pack probably too much into a day, it makes the level of cortisol drop and allows you to flow a lot easier from one thing to a next, instead of holding on and being tight around certain things. And I know for myself it's been a huge benefit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Great. Where's the best place for people to find and interact with you?
Okay, a few things here. In our method of Heartfulness, we do have a spiritual guide and teacher, which is really helpful if you want to connect at that level. I'd suggest checking him out. His name is Kamlesh Patel. Very often he's called Daji. He's someone who I've personally known my entire life. And I've meditated with him for a very long time. He's really the real deal. And I suggest people check him out. You can check him out online. You can go to Daji, DAAJI.org. And on there's a masterclass that's available for free. And you can take that masterclass, and he guides people through all of the different parts of the practice. There's also a course that he's done recently for Udemy, udemy.com.
Right.
And that's about a 12-hour course that's available online. So I recommend people checking that out as well. If people would like to check out some of the things I'm doing, I am a pretty active writer on the website called Quora.com, Quora. I'm one of the writers in the spiritual categories. If you look up spirituality, meditation, enlightenment is a huge category on there. I write a lot, almost daily there. And you can find my blog by going to that site. And the way you'd find it is just put my name in the search bar and it'll pop up and you can get to my blog page. And you can see all of the answers. I've written about 700 answers to questions about meditation and spiritual topics. So.
Nice. Spiritual master of Quora.
Well, there's a lot of questions and probably only one answer. And that is just do it.
Nice. All right. Well, Brian, really appreciate you making the time and sharing your wisdom with us. Really appreciate it. And I know the audience is going to get so much out of it, because I know if more of us are aware of our heart and living from there, we can make the world a better place.
And we must. It's our duty. We got to do it, because our young people coming up, they need us, and they're the future. We got to do what we can to help them. So thank you, Ben, so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it.